Gather around the fire for a moment and imagine the quiet crackle of burning wood beneath a dark summer sky. The woods are still, the lake nearby barely moving, and the only sound drifting through the trees is the distant call of night creatures. It feels peaceful, almost too peaceful. But if you've ever heard the legends of Camp Crystal Lake, you already know that appearances can be deceiving. Tonight, we're exploring the chilling story of Pamela Voorhees, a woman whose grief turned into one of the most infamous murder sprees in horror history. Her name is often overshadowed by her son, Jason, the masked figure who would later haunt the woods around Crystal Lake. But before Jason became a legend of terror, it was Pamela who began the nightmare. Now let's step back in time and look at how this entire nightmare began.
Enough now. Make them remember what fear tastes like!
Pamela Voorhees was born in 1930. Like many figures who eventually become part of horror legend, her early life is mostly hidden behind scattered details and speculation. What we do know is that she grew up during a difficult era and eventually became involved with a man named Elias Voorhees. Elias was known for his violent temper and unstable personality. Their relationship was far from peaceful, and the environment surrounding Pamela's life quickly became toxic. Reports and rumors surrounding their relationship suggest that Elias treated Pamela with cruelty and aggression. The situation grew even more complicated when Pamela became pregnant as a teenager. In 1946, at just 16 years old, Pamela gave birth to a boy named Jason Voorhees. Jason was born with severe physical deformities, including hydrocephalus, which gave his head a misshapen appearance. Because of his condition, he was often mocked and rejected by others. To the outside world, he was different, but to Pamela, he was everything. She loved him fiercely and became extremely protective of him.
Oh, my boy. No matter what any of this has done to you, I see the child I held the first night you opened your eyes. Nothing can change that.
I'm not him anymore. I'm only what remains.
Jason's existence gave Pamela purpose, especially as her relationship with Elias continued to deteriorate. Some stories within the extended lore even suggest that Elias eventually died under mysterious circumstances, possibly at Pamela's hands. While the details remain uncertain, the rumor has become a lingering part of the dark mythology surrounding the Voorhees family. Eventually, Pamela found work at Camp Crystal Lake, a summer camp located deep in the woods. The camp was meant to be a place where children could swim, play, and enjoy the outdoors. For Pamela and Jason, it likely seemed like an opportunity for a quieter life. Unfortunately, it would become the setting for a tragedy that would echo for decades. In 1957, Jason drowned in Crystal Lake. The event occurred while camp counselors were distracted and failing to properly supervise the children. Instead of watching the campers, they were spending time flirting, sneaking away together, and ignoring their responsibilities. Jason wandered into the lake alone. Unable to swim and left completely unsupervised, he slipped beneath the surface and never came back up. By the time anyone realized what had happened, it was too late.
Did you know that a young boy drowned the year before those two others were killed? The counselors weren't paying any attention. They were making love while that young boy drowned. His name was Jason.
In Pamela Voorhees' mind, Jason's death was not just a tragic accident. She believed the counselors who were supposed to be watching the children had failed to do their jobs. Because they were distracted, her son had drowned in the lake. That belief stayed with her and slowly turned into deep anger and grief. About a year after Jason's death, something terrible happened at Camp Crystal Lake. Two young counselors, Barry and Claudette, stepped away from their duties and went to a quiet barn together, hoping for a private moment. But what they expected to be a peaceful break turned into something far more frightening. Barry was suddenly attacked by an unknown assailant. Moments later, Claudette was also attacked and taken out. The incident shocked everyone connected to the camp. At the time, no one knew who was responsible for the murders. The mystery and tragedy quickly spread fear throughout the area, and from that moment on, Camp Crystal Lake began to gain a dark and unsettling reputation.
Never come back again? Oh, shut up, Ralph.
No one immediately knew who was responsible, but the incident planted the seeds of a dark reputation around the camp. Over the following years, Crystal Lake began to develop a disturbing pattern of accidents and tragedies. Fires broke out, workers died under mysterious circumstances, and every attempt to reopen the camp seemed to end in disaster. Locals began calling it Camp Blood. Behind these incidents, Pamela Voorhees was quietly ensuring that the camp would never operate normally again. For her, Crystal Lake represented the place where her son had been taken from her. In her mind, anyone who tried to reopen the camp was disrespecting Jason's memory. Her mission was simple: make sure the camp never returned. Years passed before someone was willing to challenge the camp's grim reputation. In 1979, a man named Steve Christie decided he would reopen Crystal Lake despite the rumors. He believed the stories about curses and murders were nothing more than exaggerated campfire tales. To prepare the camp for reopening, he hired several young counselors to help restore the cabins and facilities. Their names were Alice, Ned, Jack, Marcy, Brenda, Bill, and Annie. None of them realized they had just stepped into a carefully planned trap. Pamela's first victim during this final rampage was Annie, a counselor hitchhiking her way to the camp. Pamela offered her a ride, appearing friendly and harmless at first. During their drive, Annie spoke enthusiastically about working at Crystal Lake, unaware that the woman behind the wheel had already decided her fate. Pamela eventually pulled over and attacked Annie, ensuring she would never arrive at the camp. Meanwhile, the other counselors continued their preparations, completely unaware of the danger lurking in the woods around them. One by one, Pamela began eliminating them. Ned disappeared after wandering off, alone. Later that night, Jack and Marcy were inside a cabin together when Pamela struck again. Jack was killed with an arrow driven upward through his throat while lying in bed. Marcy was attacked moments later in the bathroom and killed with an axe. Brenda met her end after hearing a child's voice calling for help in the distance. Concerned, she followed the sound outside, not realizing the voice was simply Pamela mimicking a frightened child. When Steve Christie finally returned to the camp, hoping to check on the counselors, Pamela killed him as well before he could reach the others. Eventually, only Alice remained alive. Alice soon discovered Bill's body pinned to a door with arrows, a grim reminder that the camp had become a deadly hunting ground. Panicked and desperate, Alice barricaded herself inside a cabin. But Pamela wasn't finished yet. In one of the most unsettling moments of the story, Pamela revealed herself to Alice and calmly explained the reason for the murders. She spoke about Jason's drowning, describing how the counselors had been too busy with their own activities to save him. As Pamela spoke, it became clear that she believed she was carrying out Jason's wishes. She even spoke in Jason's voice at times.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her. Don't let her get away, Mommy. I won't, Jason. I won't.
As if she could hear him guiding her actions. Pamela then attacked Alice with a knife, beginning a desperate struggle for survival. Alice fought back using whatever objects she could find nearby, including a fireplace poker and eventually a frying pan. The fight moved through the cabin and eventually toward the lakeshore. In the final confrontation, Alice managed to grab Pamela's machete and strike a fatal blow, ending the killing spree that had haunted Crystal Lake. Exhausted and traumatized, Alice escaped the area by drifting across the lake in a canoe, hoping the nightmare was finally over. But the legend of Crystal Lake was only just beginning. In the quiet aftermath, something terrifying emerged from the water. Jason, though the moment is often interpreted in different ways. Either as a dream or a shocking glimpse of Jason's survival, it hinted that Pamela's influence would not end with her death. Her actions had planted the seeds for a far darker legacy. Over time, Jason Voorhees would grow into the unstoppable killer that horror fans know today, continuing the brutal mission his mother began. Pamela Voorhees remains one of the most tragic figures in horror. Unlike many villains who act purely out of cruelty, her descent into violence began with grief. She lost the one person she loved most and allowed her pain to twist into something monstrous. Her story reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying legends are born not from supernatural forces, but from human emotion pushed beyond its breaking point. And in the shadowy woods surrounding Crystal Lake, that legend continues to echo. So what do you think about Pamela Voorhees and the story that started it all? Was she simply a grieving mother who lost control, or do you think something darker was influencing her actions all along? If you enjoyed exploring this chilling piece of horror history, be sure to subscribe to Richard Barron Horror so you never miss another terrifying deep dive. There are many more eerie stories, theories, and legends waiting in the darkness. Until next time, stay curious, keep the campfire burning, and remember, some places are better left off the map.